Hey guys, so right before the episode starts, I wanted to pop in and share my love for Anchor with you guys. Without Anchor, Skincare Anarchy would not be a thing. So I want to just mention that if you're someone who wants to get into the podcast world and you want to get started, you can do it for free. You can go to your app store and just download the app for Anchor, or you can go to anchor.fm and get started. Now, Anchor does provide so many tools, so many benefits for new podcasters, and it's so easy to use. So I really urge you to check it out and stay tuned for our episode. Hey guys, I have a very special episode for you guys today, and just as a treat, and we get no commissions from this is simply for you and for you to really enjoy the brand. If you go to www.supperclubskincare.com and enter the code Anarchy20 at checkout, you will get 20% off your order of Subsea. This is a beautiful product, and Ziad's vision is truly extraordinary. I can't wait for you guys to listen in on this episode because he really goes in and dives into the cultural aspects and the heritage and all the beautiful things that we often get inspiration from when it comes to skincare and just the products that we create nowadays. So I can't wait for you guys to check out the brand. Again, go to www.supperclubskincare.com, enter the code Anarchy20, all one word, for 20% off. Stay tuned, and I hope you love it. Hi guys, welcome back to Skincare Anarchy. This is Ekta, and I have a wonderful guest today. I'm super excited about his new line. It's a wonderful line and has truly been just curated to perfection. So I can't wait to introduce you guys to the founder of Supper Club Skincare, Ziad Halub. Welcome to the show, Ziad. I'm so excited you're here.
Hi, Hector. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it's such an honor to host you. I know that you have a phenomenal career journey and a background, and I would love to get started there and just kind of have you talk us through, like, just everything that's led up to the brand and all the good stuff.
Amazing. Yeah, no, of course. So my career has been an unconventional one, as are most people that work in skincare. It's always a bit of a twist and turn of a journey. But really, my career in skincare started working for a dermatologist when I was doing my undergraduate degree. And I was doing it part-time, and at that time I was studying archaeology and conservation of all things. And I really quickly realized I had no interest in archaeology, and formulations and skincare and skin anatomy and skin biology was just absolutely fascinating. And I loved the industry as well,
Yeah.
making someone feel good. It was just incredible. So when I finished my postgraduate degree, I had, a choice to go on to do a PhD in archaeology, which I, by that point, had very little interest in, or continue my amazing learning with the dermatologist I was working with, who was a melanoma specialist as well. So there was so much learning happening there, and it was so fascinating. I stayed in the industry, and my career has grown. And really, in the skincare industry, I've done pretty much everything from formulation to account management, training and education and marketing. Like, you name it, I've done it. I work closely with brand founders, and in doing so, I've kind of had my hand in a bit of everything.
Wow. Yeah, no, I actually heard that, and I before we even connected, I had heard that you have such a vast portfolio in terms of, like, all the experience and all the things you've really seen, the angles you've seen this industry, from. And I really like that whenever I have the opportunity to talk to founders such as yourself, because I think that really is what goes behind creating a successful brand, is to, like, really know all the angles and to know what the consumer really needs. So I want to talk about that. I want to lead up to that because obviously, I'm sure you saw a white space that led you to creating your own line. So can you talk us through that as well?
Yeah, of course. No, and thank you for saying that. I've always referred to myself as a jack of all trades, so
Yeah.
I'm glad there's been a silver lining in that. In terms of Supper Club and launching our first product, Sabzi, really it wasn't. A lot of people will create a product to fill that white space, and I suppose subconsciously that's exactly what happened, but that's not really how I set out to do things. So usually when I'm working either consulting or working directly with a brand, I am tasked to create something for an immediate effect. So, for example, make a cream that's good for quote unquote anti-aging, whatever that might mean,
Yeah.
or for pigmentation or for acne. And really, Sabzi was not created from that necessity. It wasn't created to treat a skin condition. It was created purely to see if I could do it. and
Yeah.
that was like, what would I do if I were to make my own product? And it was created. Why we're called Supper Club actually is I was hosting dinner, and 10 people ended up at my house. It was never meant to be that big.
Yeah.
And I was cooking with these. It was to celebrate the beginning of spring equinox. So it's very close to Easter. And in the Middle East, we cook quite a lot, and we cook a lot with spring herbs and seasonal vegetables. And the entire dinner table is green. It's full of herbs and beautiful ingredients and just the freshest produce you can find. And as I was cooking, I was like, this is the most, all these ingredients are fantastic. I would love to see what this would look like in a skincare product. What would this do for your skin? And that's how the journey started. And that was about 4 or 5 years ago now.
That's
Kind of,
so cool. No, I love that. I really love that. I want to chime in and say how much that is so much in the spirit of science. Like I can't even tell you, I recently kind of had my own little rant session on my podcast where I was just like kind of calling out all my clinician friends in a weird way. And I was just like, you guys have to understand, like, science comes from like this discovery driven mindset, and that really is the essence, like what you just said, like, looking at just things around us and being like, wow, I wonder what that does, if you do this with this. So I love that. I really love that.
no, thank you. By the way, I heard it, and I couldn't agree more
Yeah.
with your. It was a mini episode, let's call it.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic. No, I totally agree, and I think there's a lot of things, especially when we're looking at skincare, that people don't sort of consider, and I say people, the industry doesn't consider. So, for example, anecdotal evidence is still data, right?
Yeah.
Anecdotes is still data. People, a large group of people telling you this has all done this to their skin, whatever that might be, is considered data in my eyes, right? Even if there's not been a study done yet, or the clinical study yet done, if enough people tell you that this is happening, there's cause and effect there, and we can sort of measure some sort of progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm all for it. Yeah, I'm all for looking at things in different ways and different angles. And I think really the industry welcomes that. And this is what I love about the skincare industry. It does welcome experimenting and playing around and seeing what happens.
Right. Right. No, I agree. And I completely, for me, from the science aspect, I wholeheartedly agree with that statement because that's what really drew me into this. I love beauty, but skincare for me was like this big, like, chemistry lab in a way, in the best way, and it was like
Yeah.
getting to see these products that have this amazing, like, just thought behind them. And, I completely agree with what you said in the sense that, like, we have to really consider the anecdotal evidence and we have to really consider people's reviews because that's the beginning of all clinical data, if you really think about it. You know what I mean? So, like, I mean, I'm not going to go on that rant and go in that direction, but like,
I
I
agree.
just
I
want to,
agree. Yeah.
no, but like, I mean, it makes sense because I'm not gonna lie, like I always say this, but like, one of my earlier papers, like, I basically did exactly what you just talked about. I was looking at my mother's, kitchen counter and she was cooking with turmeric and ginger and like all these amazing herbs. And I was like, I wonder what happened if I took extracts of all these and tested them on like mycobacterium, and which is one of the hardest bacteria to kill. You know what I mean? And I saw like all these effects. So it's like, we can't turn a blind eye to that.
I
That was my whole
absolutely
point.
love it. I absolutely, and I love the fact that that study was done based on your mother's kitchen,
Yeah.
where all
Yeah.
the greatest things start, I believe.
Exactly. Exactly. I want to actually touch upon the cultural aspect of your line because I know that you briefly touched upon that, Middle Eastern culture, like you guys really love your herbs and the greens and stuff. So I want to talk about that a little bit more if you can tell us more about that.
Of course, yeah. So so it's called Sabzi. So Sabzi is what I refer to as a universally understood word. And by that, I mean the word is used from the start of the Mediterranean, so from Turkey, all the way to South Asia.
Yeah.
sabzi or sabji or variations of that word are used to mean the same thing. And it means greens, herbs, vegetables. It all connotes the same type of thing. So I really wanted to call it sabzi. The dish in particular that inspired it was a shebzi from Iraq, which is very similar, and it borrows from the Persian gorma sabzi, which is a stew.
Yeah.
And it's a blend of these beautiful herbs, and the result, it doesn't, you wouldn't think it would work. You're just stewing down a mountain of herbs. Honestly, it's so much.
Yeah.
And the result is absolutely outstanding. So I really wanted to honor that when we created Sabzi, because the formulation was just, this was an experiment first and foremost, and the expectations were exceeded entirely, from everything, from the results to how it honored the Middle Eastern, sort of my own culture, which is I'm Iraqi, so how it honored my own heritage. And I think that's important. I don't think sort of the Middle East is represented enough in the realm of skincare. So I was
Yeah.
really conscious to represent it in the way that I knew how. So adding Arabic language onto the packaging was the first thing that I was insistent of doing. A lot of people tried to talk me out of it for whatever reason. And I said, no, Arabic has to feature in the packaging. I want my grandma in the Middle East who doesn't speak a word of English or French to be able to pick it up and understand it and know what it does.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was
No, I
very
love that.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just gonna say, like, I can see people being like skeptical because let's be honest, in the times, people have demonized, every Arab speaking country on this planet, which is completely ridiculous. So that's why I think, from a marketing perspective, people get like weird about it. But no, it's a beautiful language. It's one of the oldest languages, and I absolutely agree with you when you're doing something from the premise of expressing like heritage and giving like homage, like paying homage to a culture. You have to incorporate that culture. So I love that you did that.
And it's my culture, and I'm really proud of it, and I absolutely adore it. And it's a large part of the foundation, my foundation. Also, the formulation came from herbs in that blend that we would use. And you're right. I think the Middle East has been still, Arabic-speaking countries have been stigmatized to a certain degree, and there's such beauty and wealth and culture and just richness to that region. So I really wanted to celebrate that without sort of making it a caricature. So everything's very subtly done, but it's all I think well done, and I think it celebrates it well. And I think more than just paying an homage, it's to give people in the Middle East access where they can see a product on the shelf and they're like, oh, this,
Yeah.
we understand, we can resonate with this. Finally, there's something for us.
Yes, yes, that's extremely important. I completely agree. Especially, I often think about, when women are shopping for something, we're the ones that are always like reading labels and reading descriptions, and you know what I mean. So, and I know that, like, especially in the Middle East, and me being from India, like we, like the care of our skin is very, very like sacred in those countries. And I think that's something people don't really understand, is that they're not makeup based places. If you really think about it from a beauty perspective, they're more about healthy skin, glowing skin, beautiful, like natural features. And that really is the culture. So like, I really enjoy that you have really addressed the accessibility idea, because yeah, there's a big problem in terms of like global representation of beauty brands. And then if people are really understanding like what to buy, why to buy it, so I really like that.
I think you touched on a really good point there, and I absolutely love that you touched on it. It's the ritual in different countries are very different, right? So I think at the moment in the West, we're very used to either very sort of sterile looking skincare or skincare
Yeah.
that it's very functional. And I never grew up in a functional world, right? So our beauty rituals were going to hammams and using precious oils and using good ingredients, and it was about sourcing. So I knew sort of, and this is actually what inspired the brand as well, I knew no two olive oils were the same.
Yeah.
But now we have we can read whatever ingredient in the back, but we don't have very much visibility as to where it was sourced from. So, it's a bit like wine. Wine comes from grapes, but the variety of grapes are endless, and the harvests are different. And there are certain years that are great for grapes and wine making, and there are certain years that are bad for it. And I think that nuance is really understood within the rituals, especially of self-care and skincare when I grew up.
Yeah.
Whereas I think it's not that prevalent in certain places or in certain spheres. So it's really, again, bringing that warmth back into taking care of your skin,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to that sterile box that we're used to.
Well, also, Ziad, it's like, I think of it almost like elegance too, right? Like for me, like, I don't know if it's just because I'm also from, an Eastern culture. Like when I think of oils and when I think of like anointing yourself in oils, I think of like, I mean, for lack of a better reference, Cleopatra and Egypt and beautiful places. And you know what I mean? Like just that's what people have done for centuries, is use oils for preserving and for enhancing. And we have to really really go back to those cultures and understand why. And that's why I think products and lines such as yours are so important in this industry, because not only from a cultural standpoint, but if you really want an efficacious product, and if you really want something that is working, is tried and true, then you're gonna have to go back to cultures. You're gonna have to go back centuries into cultural norms and practices, because that's the stuff that worked. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
there's a reason it's been
yeah.
carried forward. Yeah.
No, I love that, and you're right. There is a reason why it's been carried forward, and I think there's something precious about oil, so you have to treat them in a precious way. So we were very careful of doing that and making sure that we were good to do that. So that sounds like a really bizarre process, but usually sort of, a lot of the times a brand would go to a lab, or they would have their own labs, and the sourcing is quite, they have an oil and it works and it's fine. But we wanted to make sure that from field, we understood exactly where our produce was coming from. We really wanted to honor and celebrate each individual ingredient. As if I was cooking, I liken it to going to the farmer's market. I want to pick up my tomatoes and smell them before I buy them. I want to make sure I know exactly where my meat is coming from if I go to the butcher, or, know my local baker, as opposed to going to a grocery store where everything's in cellophane and everything's plastic wrapped and there's no visibility as to quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of liken the experience a bit to that. If I'm going to make a precious oil, I'm going to go right back to source. So rather than relying on a third party, I suppose, it took about 4 years to get to this point. I went to each farm, and the farms that I didn't go to, my friends went to, and they managed to supply. And then we bought the raw materials individually from every single different supplier.
Wow.
That was food grade, and we were really sure to do it. Again, it was all about making something precious and ensuring preciousness. And then the minute it was, and half of these, I mean, dill seed oil, for example, is usually an essential oil. Very rarely would you get dill seed as a carrier. And we had it bespokely pressed for us, and I haven't seen that ingredient used elsewhere in skincare. So we had it bespokely pressed for us, and then sort of we were very conscious to make it food grade all the way throughout. So even when this was created, manufactured, it was manufactured as a supplement. So if you wanted to pick it up and put it into your mouth, I don't recommend it. It doesn't taste very good. But if should you want to, you could, and it wouldn't cause any damage. It's really food grade. It's really premium and precious, and we wanted to ensure that it was. And this is the surprising thing about it. It sounds fluffy and it sounds okay. Well, what does that mean? When we actually took it into testing, we found out that it had 79% epidermal absorption, which is huge.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
were,
That's huge.
oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, like way to knock it out of the park. I mean, that's crazy. So wait, so that was like the first trial that you did?
Yeah, so when we actually, so this wasn't on our mind. So when I created this, what was on my mind, just sort of finding the best, sourcing the best, blending it together, letting it infuse for 3 months. So the infusion process to actually make all these materials work cohesively, it's a minimum of 2 weeks usually if you're working with essential oils. We really wanted to make sure that it was infused well, in the best way possible. So it's a really slow process to make this, in fact. So once all of that was done, great. And as we were testing, we went through about 30 iterations of the formula.
Wow.
We tried it and we're like, okay, this works. This really works. And my skin was glowing and it looked healthy, and I couldn't really pin why. And I couldn't really put my finger on what was going on my skin. I knew in theory how it would work. It's super antioxidant rich, it's flavonoid rich, it's rich in beta carotene, it's rich in lycopene, it's vitamin E rich as well. The vitamin E we use is a really, really high standard. It's got a lot of brightening properties, anti-inflammatory properties from the turmeric, which you mentioned earlier that you were testing. It's got a lot of pure CO2 extracted turmeric that has no heat going through it. So you're really getting the best.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
has a lot of properties. So we knew in theory what it would do and how it would work. But when we actually put it to the test and we had to run it through some sort of clinicals to get it through compliance, we found out actually it had the most epidermal absorption I've seen in a product thus far. And I was like, oh, okay. This is really
Wow.
doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, but that wasn't our intention.
But I mean, it was in a way, because you did it right. You did it the best way you could. And that's what happens when you do science right. I mean, it's, it works. Like, I think that, that's phenomenal. First of all, those results are phenomenal. And I think, for me, I wanted to actually share the story with you. And I was waiting for us to have our chat, because the oil actually saved my skin, because I recently had, I was traveling and I came to see my mother in Ohio, and no joke, I had not done any skincare for like a week. And for everyone out there who's skeptical about skincare, if you need it or not, you do. I do, at least, okay? Because my skin was terrible. It was just very unhappy. And I couldn't figure out why I was like having these little tiny breakouts. Like, I don't have that. You know what I mean? It's not even part of my normal hormonal response. So my skin was freaking out. And I was like, I'm going to use one product. And that's where I really put your product to the test. And let me tell you, within 2 days, my skin went not only back to normal, but it was like you said, glowing, healthy, beautiful. It just felt like it was happy. You know what I mean? Like fully hydrated, fully, nourished. Like it just looked better. It looked like I had life back in me. So I can honestly tell you, like, for me, it's very important that anyone I invite on, I believe in their product. And I really, really love what you've created. It's a beautiful product.
I'm so happy to hear that, by the way.
Yeah.
The feedback has been phenomenal. I love that story. And it really goes to show, because I honestly, when we put this to market, I had no idea what this was going to do for other people's skin. All I knew is my skin looked good. It was one shade for the first time in years. So brown skin usually gets discolored quite quickly. So my skin goes through that sometimes. It was one shade for the first time in my life. It wasn't red, it wasn't blotchy. And my breakouts had minimized. So I knew that's what it did for my skin, and I believed in it enough to launch it as a product, but I had no idea what the response would be. But now that we've launched, I think we're new. I mean, we've only been around for 3 months now.
Yeah.
The response has been insane. I've been getting before and after pictures with very similar stories to yours, with people even saying we didn't think our skin was bad.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we used Sabzi, and then we realized how good our skin could look. And I was like, okay, great.
Yeah. It's like, like a boost. Like, it's like having a child that's like somewhat smart, and then you put it in a good school and it turns out to be a genius. Like, it's just like surprise upon surprise. Like, I mean, honestly, it's a wonderful product. And yeah, like, I think the best for me, like, I am a scientist through and through. I've been in the lab since I was 8 years old. So for me, proof has to be there. And when I saw what it did to my skin, I was like, yeah, I think he just created something very miraculous, and I don't know if he fully understands how great this is, but I was so excited, with my results. So I can definitely imagine, the amazing feedback. I actually want to ask you though, like, in terms of like any like hurdles you faced, and also like, as a man in this industry, like doing this, coming out with a line, like, how has that been, like that whole experience?
That's a really good question. So I think let's start with the hurdles. So the hurdles were where every other step was a difficult one. I really threw the rule book out, I suppose. It doesn't smell, I mean, it doesn't smell like a facial oil, right? It doesn't have that
Yeah.
grainy, rosy smell. It smells like the ingredients. It smells like coriander and parsley and dill. And I think
It smells like the best salad on the planet. Honestly, that's what I feel like. It's
it
like
does,
the most.
it smells green, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think sort of that in and of itself is sort of a bit of a testament to not playing by the rules. So I was really conscious not to. So how most products are formulated, and sort of every other one that I've seen, 95% would be a base, be that an oil or a cream, whatever it might be. So it'd be water, or it'd be a carrier oil, usually grapeseed oil, sunflower seed oil. And then you would leave 5% for the active ingredients. And that's not how I wanted to do things. I conceptualized everything as I would food.
Yeah,
What would that look like as a plate, right? Would I be
I love
excited
that.
to eat that? Would I be excited? Probably not, if I got 5% food and the rest was one giant sort of mass. So
Right.
I didn't want to do that. I really wanted every single percentage to count and to matter. And I think that in and of itself created a huge amount of problems, because there was no reference to how to formulate, right? The rule
Yeah.
book was thrown out. I was like, no, I want it to all be active. So that was hard. And then going to each farm and sourcing from source, really, and making sure everything was food grade was incredibly difficult logistically. To even, I think, sort of, so the bottle is inlaid in 24 karat gold. And even
Huh.
that was a nightmare, because getting gold into glass and then making it not be able to scratch off to make it scratch resistant is a
Yeah.
nightmare in and of itself. And because I was meticulously in control of every single aspect, all the way from sort of, is the soil being regenerated after farming, small things that you would never really think to ask.
Yeah.
um, it became a monumentous project, became huge. So I think taking that on by myself was a steep learning curve, and I think that's really where the main difficulties were.
Yeah.
um, in terms of being a man, I think, because this is an industry I've been in for 12 years now,
Yeah.
I don't feel it, but I'm sure it will have. I'm sure I'll understand the challenges that faces perhaps slightly later on. At the moment, it's been smooth sailing, and I don't. I think, yes, it's. I think the men are always meant to be doctors, or considered to be doctors. That's the norm. If you're a
Yeah.
male founder, then you're usually a dermatologist. So again, time will tell how that affects me later on down the line.
No, I absolutely love that this is like coming from you, because honestly, men in my aspect are very underrepresented in the skin health space, and I have a real problem with that, because I cannot tell you, how difficult it has been for me to convince even my guy friends to like try a sunscreen or try an oil, you know what I mean? So it's like, it bothers me to my core, because I'm like, everyone has skin, like this conversation has happened so many times, right? So I'm not gonna like go and reiterate everything, but everyone has skin, and trying to convince a man to use a product that technically would fall into the beauty category, even though it's a health product in a way, if you think about it, it's very difficult. So that's why I really, really love that you are behind this line, and that it is so efficacious and it is working so well, because I find it to be easier to like suggest to my guy friends, like, you should try this, because guess who formulated it? A guy formulated it. So it's not in like a pink packaged, bubble sealed, whatever. It's a beautiful product. So that's why I asked you that, is that this representation aspect.
Yeah, I think, and you make a really good point. In terms of being a founder, I think we need more female representation everywhere. So me being a minority in one industry really doesn't bother me in that aspect. But I think you're right, in the sense that more men need to take care of their skin, because it is a health thing that they need to do. It's not a luxury. Um, but to that fact, a lot of men do actually weirdly like this product. I've had a lot of stories of, this has been on their sort of bathroom counter, and my friends' male partners would see it and be like,
Yeah,
"Oh, what's this?" Because it's quite unisex looking. It's
it
quite
is.
unassuming, and we wanted to make the packaging that way as well. We really wanted to. There was two main points. I needed the packaging to just kind of look classically elegant, and the other point is that I didn't want my branding to be all over the packaging. There's nothing worse than sort of going into someone's bathroom and seeing a million different logos from brands trying to fight for space. And I wanted the bottle just to kind of sit there. Um,
Yeah.
So I think that in and of itself appeals to a lot of people. So I think curiosity makes them want to open the bottle and try it out. But it's
I
great.
completely agree. No, it's a beautiful product. Aesthetically, it's beautiful. Like, I mean, it looks very elegant on your vanity, and it's really one of those like standalone products. That's what I love so much about it, is that it's something that, you know, if you are somebody who is a very, very much a minimalist in the skincare space and you really want that one product, like this is it. You know, like you can use this and put this on your vanity and be like, this is my daily ritual, you know? Like I can use this every day and I'm going to be doing something very good for my skin. And that's exactly the kind of products we need, because, you know, right now, like the whole conversation is revolving around, well, there's too many products, there's too many brands, there's too many blah, blah, blah. But it's like, and then Gen Z comes in with their like excessive use of like peels, you know, and just ruins it for everybody. And it's like, it's not about that. It's about creating products that are multi-use, that
Yeah.
are able to work, you know what I mean? And you're able to see results, so that once the consumer does see the results, they keep coming back. Because how are you going to form a habit if you don't see results? And like with your oil and your product, like I just mentioned that, like in 2 days, I saw a difference in my skin. So if I can see that, you know what I mean? Like, you see where I'm trying to go with this? Like, if you can see that, that's what really like facilitates like habit formation and the reuse of products and really letting them work for your skin.
I love that. I completely agree. You know, and I think there's something problematic with having a million different products on on rotation. There's no need, right? And also
Yeah.
your skin's only absorbing a certain percentage of it, and your skin's not happy. I mean, your skin's a barrier. It's not meant to sort of receive a million different conflicting messages from 1,000 products that you have lying on your shelf. I think keep it consistent, and consistency is key with skincare. Using a few things that work really well to make sure that your skin is nourished, hydrated, and to make sure that your skin is protected against the environment. And, you know, skincare could be very, very simple. It could be super complex, but if you do it complex, then I think there's more margin for error.
Yeah.
A lot
Yes.
a lot of people, especially previously when I was working in clinic, I suppose, would come in with sensitized skin, thinning skin, because they've used 10% glycolic on their, 10% glycolic every single day for the last 10 years. And I'm like, well, that's not going to end well.
Yeah.
Good.
Wow, that scared me. I just had like flashbacks of like just experimenting with skincare when I first started. But no, I mean, honestly, like you're right. And that's the problem, is that brands keep pushing out the same thing in different packaging. And I think that's where the real problem in the industry is. It's not about, we have too many skincare. No, we have too many redundancies. That's really where it really comes down to. And that's why I think what you've created is so beautiful. And it's just so unique, because like you said, like it's basically taking food grade, like, criteria, and applying it to what we put on our skin, which is food for your skin. If you think about it, it's skin food. You know what I mean? Like it's really, and so you have to be very, very meticulous, very careful. And I just want to commend you. I think the line is beautiful. Everyone listening, you guys, I'm going to tag everything in the art for this, but it's a phenomenal product. And I'm so excited that you came on the show to share all the journey and the whole journey with us. Thank you so much.
It's been lovely.
It's my honor. And everyone listening, please go check out the brand. I will link everything. Like I said, leave some comments, and if you have results, leave them in the comment section so we can share them with Ziad and his team. But thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll be back next time.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.